Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Not Just Leadership podcast, hosted by the Global Institute for Leadership. Thanks so much for joining us on this week's episode with our very special guest from Kiribati, Kanaan. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me this afternoon, this morning. Yeah.
Appreciate you joining us. And just to start the podcast, can you introduce yourself a little bit and share a little bit about Kiribati for our viewers who might not be familiar with it?
Of course, of course. Yeah, so my name is Kanaan, and I live in Kiribati, and I was born and raised there. And Kiribati is a small country. Most people don't know where Kiribati is on the map, but it's located in the Oceania area, and probably the we were known as a close our closest neighbor, Fiji. That's where people can kind of spot it on the map when we say that we are close to Fiji or country, much bigger country like Australia and New Zealand. So
Wonderful. And growing up in Kiribati, what was your life like there?
well, the life in Kiribati is simple, and it's not as quick or fast in other countries, bigger economy, right? So in Kiribati, it's most people the schooling when they are kids growing up, and then they work for the government. Sometimes they work for the private sector. For others, right? And most people are unemployed. That's the biggest trend in Kiribati at the moment.
Yeah. And do you find a lot of youth moving away for opportunities, or is there youth tend to stay in Kiribati and work in the local economy?
Well, I think the reality is that many people, I think many people would like to move for opportunities, right? But it's not that easy, and opportunities are very hard to come by, especially if you don't finish education, right? And I've seen that the trend is for people that don't find employment in Kiribati, they tend to look for opportunity elsewhere, while others who content with life in Kiribati as have opportunity tends to be more focused in Kiribati, because there's a thing about staying back in Kiribati for a sense of community, sense of belonging to a country. So I don't see, like, for me myself, I don't see any reason why I should move abroad.
Yeah.
If I do have opportunities in Kiribati. But for some people, that's the goal, to move somewhere else.
Yeah.
In pursuit of opportunities.
Yeah. And what was what's your trajectory been like? Have you followed like a traditional like university and then work, or what's your background been throughout your, I guess, studies and professional life?
Yeah, for many people like myself, we started off, all schooling when we were kids, and then growing up, we furthered that education. And lucky for me, I had the opportunity to study at USB in Fiji, funded by the government. And straight after that, I work in the government.
Mm-hmm.
And
what did you study?
Yeah, I focus on my major is computer science and information system or information technology. That's what I call a bachelor degree on. And after that, I work with the government for a number of years, I guess 8 years.
Yeah.
And then I step out of the government and start business and do some consulting work.
Yeah. And being a young entrepreneur, you've started your own business in Kiribati. That takes a lot of courage and risk. What made you go into that path and leave the government work?
Well, actually, I think for me, it's kind of something that's I don't expect as well. Starting a business. But what drives me to start a business is a need for service that I'm looking for. And it's funny, because in Kiribati we don't have much or many laundry service, and that's one of the course that you need to do it regardless of whether you like it or not, but something that you must do, right? Because you want clean clothes for the new week. And at that time, me and my wife, we both work for the government, and we don't have much time to do our laundry. And so we had to rely on available services.
Yeah.
And most of them are not satisfiable. So I don't have a choice but to start that business, not because of I want money or want to become a businessman, but because I need that service, and there's no one in the country that can provide me that service. So that's where it all began, and since then, it started to it's changed. It's becoming like a real business, and I was more into it. We employ people, and that's sort of how this trajectory took shape. And but I'm still working with the government
Yep.
back then, right? Because
Yep.
one of the very difficult challenge in Kiribati when you start a business is finding capital,
Yeah.
access to
Yeah.
finance, right? And
Of
so
course.
the only way that I can fund this business is by taking out loans, right? And
Yep.
if you take out the loan, you need to, the institutions need to ensure that you are able to pay back.
Yep.
And the only way to pay back is by working for the government
Mm.
back then,
Yep.
which is kind of it's not encouraged, or it's not. I think it's not entertained by the government, but I had to do it.
Wow. So that's really great that you saw that there was a need, and then you decided, okay, I'll set up a business in this area myself. And whilst working in the government, you're also building your business,
Mm.
and now you're running your
Yeah.
is it ICT based,
Yeah.
technology based firm, digital marketing as well, and things like that.
Yeah. So after a few years, I think 4 years after I started the business, I'm still with the government, and it came COVID-19, and all of the priorities, things that we worked on in the government back then, sort of changed. The government changed its priorities to COVID-19, and that's when I felt that it's started to move slow to the point that my ambition is far exceeding what I can see inside the
Yeah.
government, and so I look for other opportunities outside, and unfortunately, I landed on consultancy assignments, and that's where I resigned and focused on this short-term consultancy assignment. But at the same time, I have more time to focus on the business and start to grow it.
Mm.
And because I'm an IT, my business, laundry service, has nothing to do with my
Yeah.
profession, right? So I
Yeah.
had to utilize those profession as well in some monetary situation. So I started a consultancy business on IT strategy, business strategic
Yeah.
thing, integration with ICT, and that's where it all began.
So you left the government, pursued your consulting, kept running the laundry business.
Yeah.
Was there any moment where you thought about going back to work for the government, or you just knew, no, this is the path I'm going to follow? I want to be in business. I want to, you said you had kind of outgrown your previous role. Did you ever look back, or you just thought, no, this is the only way forward?
Yeah, that's interesting, because when I leave the government, I still have a lot of interest in what the government is doing, right? The policies and things that I want to see change in the
Yeah.
government, but and I still see myself, contributing to those changes, but not as a government employee. That's what I'm certain on.
Yeah.
And once I get out of the government and do some consulting work, one of the thing that I am praised a lot is the flexibility in time, in terms
Yeah.
of working,
Yeah.
the working environment and the working timelines, And so I don't picture myself going back into the government, but if I were to, assist the government realizing the dreams that I also aligns with me, I don't have to be the full-time employer, but more, in different capacities like consulting or technical expertise in that sense.
Yeah, I think many people think to influence government policy or to influence government policy, many people think that they need to become a politician or be a public servant. But also, actually going into the private sector, there's ways you can influence the government through advocacy, through chambers of commerce, which you're a part of in Kiribati. How did you become involved in the Chamber of Commerce? Because you're currently a director, if I understand correctly, of the
That's
Kiribati Chamber of Commerce. Why and how did you become involved in the Chamber of Commerce, and what do you think is the importance of that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that there's a lot of areas of influence that one can explore, right? And for me, I don't intend to become a director, one of the director of the KCCI, the Kiribati Chamber of Commerce, but it happens that I attended one of the annual general meeting where they elect directors, and I one of the lady that used to be a director, she encouraged me to attend that AGM, for the opportunity, because she knew that new directors would be elected after 4 years. And so she's kind of, lobbying for me, asking other people that has influence in that space to, hey, look at this guy. This is one of the potential resource that can help.
Yeah.
And you know, at the end of that day, I was elected as one of the directors, and that is where I began to engage with the KCCI, and I knew that there's a lot of opportunity for me to kind of push the thing that I
Yeah.
want to see change, but from the private sector perspective. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of forums that we were invited to talk
Yeah.
with the government, and that is where I knew that this is one of the opportunity to push my influence forward.
Yeah. Often the chambers of commerce in many countries, they have a good reputation, they have a good relationship with ministers, with government departments. So it helps facilitate those discussions that the challenges you see as a business owner, you can then directly, take it to the government, and you bring the name of the Chamber of Commerce behind you. So you have more weight behind what you're talking about. You're obviously probably one of the younger directors maybe on the Chamber of Commerce, I imagine, or is there other young members and youth that are getting involved in the business sector?
Yeah, that's right. I'm the youngest, and I think the age gap between me and maybe the next oldest person above me, I think it's quite. I don't know actually, but I know that I'm the youngest, and probably I think the only young person that I've ever served on the board of the chamber.
Yeah, wonderful.
Mm.
So, would you classify, I guess, doing business in Kiribati, would you say it's like a business-friendly environment, or is there a lot of regulation and tax and compliance? How would you kind of describe the business environment there?
To be honest, it's not a friendly environment in terms of the support that business needs to thrive. And by saying that, I mean things like infrastructure. Things like legal framework that promotes business. We have, as I mentioned before, a big challenge with access to finance. These are the things that we've often face, businesses. And in addition to that, we have a very small market.
Yeah.
And as business, you need consumers, but not only consumers, but those who have a large disposable income, to spend on these services. And sometimes that is, definitely that's a real challenge in Kiribati.
Yeah, it's interesting that even though the market's small and it's a small population, there's often still a lot of requirements for regulatory purposes. We think in Australia, okay, it's a big market. There's a lot of regulatory compliance as well. And then I think naturally you think in the Pacific, okay, might be easier doing business there because it's a smaller economy, maybe a more informal market. But then no, there's actually other challenges as well. In addition to the regulatory tax compliance requirements, there's also the challenges in finding the consumer base, building, the market, knowing who's your customer. So I imagine, and the infrastructure challenges too as well in terms of services and telecommunications and things like that.
That's right.
Well, the podcast is on not just leadership. So often we talk about leadership, but not just leadership, other topics as well. So it's really nice to hear about your business background and growing up in Kiribati. And you stepped into this leadership role with the Kiribati Chamber of Commerce. Has there been other leadership roles you've taken on in the community or internationally as well throughout your professional journey so far?
Well, yeah, there are other roles that I have taken on in Kiribati, and most of them are in small scale community projects. Actually, I was at one point leading the my church community, and we aside from that, I also founded an NGO which I'm currently leading at the moment. So that's where I put into practice the leadership knowledge and skills that I built up over the years. And yeah, I found those really challenging. But as a leader, you need to evolve. With the challenge, and sort of be on your toes every time. So to try and find solutions to problems. So that's what's kind of motivates me every day to take leadership in everything that I do.
Yeah. And what was the role that you had with the church?
With the church, I was a chairman.
Yep.
You know, the way that church works in Kiribati, we have multiple branches, like one church, but
Mhm.
it has a multiple branch in village in each village in Tarawa. And I was at one point the chairman in my village, but then I was also as elected to become a chairman in the like in the Pika
Yeah.
organization
Yeah.
of those different villages. Yeah.
And so what was your roles and responsibilities? So I guess maybe help manage finance,
Yeah,
activities.
that's part of the role, and mostly to chair the meetings, lead the discussion and bring the stakeholders together. Find common ideas, common grounds among people that has different backgrounds and different ideas. So that's sort of my role
Yeah.
in those fields.
One thing I find really beautiful when I meet with youth from the Pacific Islands is they're often involved in various areas of life. So they've got their day job or their business consulting work. They're often involved in like an NGO. They're doing some voluntary work, and they have their work in the church, in the faith community, and then they're doing other leadership roles as well. So I feel like the youth in the Pacific are really taking on a lot of responsibilities, and I think there's a very bright future ahead in our Pacific Island nations. Likewise for Kiribati. I wanted to learn a little bit more about the NGO you're a part of, and can you share a little bit about what the work of the NGO is?
Yeah. So the NGO is called Chidiro Kiribati, and you can find that on our website. But the NGO is started off once I left the government, and the reason is because I started to work more closely with the community, and I knew the challenge that they have, especially with Chidiro in the Chidiro space. I have friends and family that have been victim to fraud and scams online. But in addition to that, I also, I've come across with people that try to find opportunities online, but they don't know much about that, and so
Yeah.
I see the area, I see the opportunity that we need to address. But because I no longer with the government, I cannot tell the government to do these stuff, right? And so I had to create a platform that allows me to move ahead with this, and that is where Chidiro Kiribati came about. So I registered it with the government, and then I try to recruit some people to join. But obviously, you need strong finance and packing, and we're not in a place where we can ask big corporations to invest in what
Yeah.
we want to happen. So I had to pull up on my own resources,
Yeah.
monetary resources, to fund these people to help me assist me in this NGO. But the NGO, we're focusing on digital literacy,
Yep.
financial literacy, and now we're looking at economic empowerment
Yeah.
through the youth and women programs.
Have you got specific partners that you're partnering with, or is it very much just led by a small group of team members that are providing the resources, as you mentioned?
Yeah. So actually, our first partner that we got is the U.S. Embassy in Fiji.
Yep.
They have this program they call the American Space or American Corner, and they want local people or local
Yeah.
partners to run programs in that, and the programs are tailored toward youth, and it's all about business, skills, life skills. That is where we kind of align with that goals, and so we applied for that, and lucky they take us on board, and that's our partner for now. But then we began to establish our engagement with the government, especially the Ministry of Women. We have been discussing with them, over the years to implement programs that will benefit the two of us. And then I reach out to MFAT through the VSA, or what they call a VSA. So it's it's like a volunteer scheme abroad.
Yep.
And they managed to get us a technical assistant that's now currently working in our
Great.
organization to
Yep.
help us develop our plan, our
Yep.
strategic and growth plan.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. So I guess wanted to touch on like some of the lessons you've learned in all of these projects you've been a part of in your consulting work, in the NGO, leadership, community. What has this taught you along the way about leadership or giving back to the community?
Yeah, I think it always there's always a feeling or sense of joy and accomplishment when you are able to help the community, especially making impact on those communities. And I have seen that to some level, but I'm still, willing to have more impact for my community. But in the different roles that I have played and continue to playing right now, with my consulting and my business, I think the biggest lesson for me and the biggest thing that I know, you have to be focused, super focused, especially if you have a lot of things that going on
Yeah.
at the same time, and the challenge that I kind of face from time to time is managing the time. And so I knew that I don't have to do things on my own. You just need to have a team and be able to delegate the task effectively to them, so they can assist you, and you can all of us can feel as can have a win together. That's the thing that I learned.
Yeah, I think delegating tasks is easier said than done. I
Mm.
find when you're passionate about a project or an organization and you've been one of the leads or the founders,
Yeah.
you often firstly you have a lot of knowledge of that project and that organization, and secondly I guess you know what to do, you know when to do it, you know how to do it, and so delegating I think is so important to be able to train other volunteers, other leaders to take on some of those tasks,
Yeah.
to be able to give the organization longevity and sustainability so that in the future, if you or myself, for example, we decided to leave these projects, we have other people who can take forward the baton and continue the good work. So yeah, I think delegating is something that I personally think is very important as well. And it's I think it's actually challenging as well to delegate because, like I said, you've got the knowledge, you've got the ability, and then it's about bringing in other people and saying, hey, here's how you can do it. Here's how we can complete this task. Here's how we can take this project to the next level. Here's, the way forward for the organization so that we're sustainable and we continue to have an impact in our community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
Yeah, I
Really good
agree. I
point.
agree, and I often struggle with the delegating important tasks. Because sometimes you don't have a trust and confidence in other people's own ability, right? And as you rightly mentioned, you sort of have an idea of how this thing should be done, and that makes it difficult
Yeah.
to delegate well. But regardless, we like it or not, I think that there's a real benefit of delegating important tasks so that you can alleviate from some pressure and be more effective in what you're focusing on.
Yeah. And I've also found it challenging because often when I've delegated tasks, the tasks haven't been completed.
Mhm.
They haven't been addressed. And so then it comes back to me to then do the task. So there's that gap to bridge.
Yeah.
And also knowing who to delegate to is
Yeah.
important too. It's not just what to delegate, but who to delegate to. Because as you said, you want trust that that person will complete that task properly. So it's about identifying who can take on this responsibility and who can do it to, a higher level of excellence.
Yeah.
Having a spirit of excellence is something that I value a lot. You can probably see by my setup here in my studio. I like to do everything with excellence and do things to a high level, to my best ability. I think that's what we're called to do, is to give it our best, to give back, to follow the plan and purpose for our life. Has there been any particular moments in your life that have really changed your trajectory? I mean, apart from the transition from the government to private sector, but personally, has there been any moments that have really, I guess, marked you or developed you personally in life?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the development that I've undergone in the last few years, and one of them is I often struggle with perfection. I always want things to be perfect the way that I see, but I knew that sometimes perfection will not get you anywhere. At least to the point where you want to be, and that's why I grow right now to be content with whatever that happens. Not to compromise the outputs that I want to happen, but I knew that perfection is not on my side or on our side. So that's why in the organization that I'm running at the moment, Chidro Kiribati, I focus more on building the capacity of my staff to be able to handle the task to the best of their ability, rather than to expect perfectionism out of them. And I really knew that it get us somewhere, because they take ownership of the task, and all I do is to embrace them and encourage them and motivate them to continue to do their best. But yeah, that's one of the developments that I undergone, and one of the other thing that I think it's quite important for me as well is to becoming more patient. Sometimes you want to see results as quick as possible, but you can't predict all things to happen the way that you want. So uh, right now I have more patience, and I grow to be more patient with myself.
Yeah.
And with other people that I'm working with, and that's those are the biggest thing that drives me forward.
Yeah, yeah. Perfectionism and patience,
Yeah.
two important
Yeah.
things to learn and to deal with.
Yeah.
And Kanaan, growing up and as a young adult, who's been your biggest role model or inspiration for your work and for life?
Well, I have looked into other leaders in the Pacific, to draw inspiration from them. Uh, but I think my biggest role models in terms of leadership, they came from my local uh, area, and those are the leaders of the government that we had witnessed in the past. There's guys like Anu the Tong, and even Tanis Mamau, which is the current president of the day, and the previous leaders. I think those are the people that I can draw inspiration from them. The dedication that they gave in serving the people, and but there are a lot of things that we can also learn from their mistake, and those are the principles that I kind of live by. Take what's the good things that they have demonstrated, and what are the things that they could have improved, and then I sort of package those and try to live out those values in my own leadership ways.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, learning from their mistakes as well. So seeing what they've done well and what they've done not so well, and taking that on board and trying to implement that in our own lives. Yeah, I think that's really, really important, because we learn from our own mistakes, and then we can also learn from other people's mistakes and the lessons that they teach us. And I think that's a really important reflection. Is there any closing remarks you would like to make to youth who are watching this podcast, or really anyone who wants to get involved in their local community and give back, or wants to take on consulting or establish an NGO? What's some advice that you would give them?
Yeah, I think the advice that I can give to young people is about establishing your goals, right? And I know that most young people, they don't have goals in life. They just follow the winds, as they say, and that's what I did in the past. And if I were to go back in time, I think that's one of I need to establish my goal early in life. The earlier, the better. And not to say that by establishing goals, there's a guarantee that you would achieve them. But it's better to have a goal in life rather than no goal at all. Because if you have a goal, you can work it out. You can stray, but you know that there's always something that you should want to go back to in order to achieve. And yeah, so that's the motivation I can give.
Yeah, and often in our jobs or in our work, we have goals that we're trying to achieve, either like KPI, key performance indicators or objectives, or certain number of products we need to sell. But then also in our personal life, we can set goals, personally, spiritually, financially, emotionally, and professionally too, in our own personal, professional goals. So I think it's something that is talked about a lot, but I think we need to take more time to do goal setting. I normally do it on like an annual basis. I think it's also good to review those goals regularly and make sure that like what you're doing aligns with those goals and also aligns with your values.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have goals, you don't have values, you don't have any direction.
No.
And that's really important.
Exactly. Yeah.
How do you go about doing your goal setting? Do you have like an end goal at the end of your life, or do you have like annual goals?
Yeah.
How do you do it personally?
Yeah, there's I don't have like established mechanism or techniques to do that, but the way that I live out my life is, and those are during the days when I became settled. I raised a family, and then I had to think that in the future I need to become some person that I wasn't at that point, or maybe the impact that I wanted to make on my family and my own life, and also the people around me. So those are the kind of goals and then I live out ways to achieve those goals by embracing the values that I knew, and the biggest change, it came when I tried to change from the inside out, and by saying that I mean, I used to be someone that really enjoys social life, and I think this is very common on the island. Everyone drinks beer, everyone's partying, everyone drink crock cover, smoke, and I did all of those, but I knew that I would not get anywhere if I focus my life in these social aspects, which are not bad in themselves, right? But I think if you focus on those aspects, you will not reach. I mean, it's very difficult for you to have an impact. And if you don't have a goal, if you don't have an aspiration, that's fine. Everyone is entitled to what they want to do. But if you want to become someone, if you want to bring impact to your family, to yourself, to your community, then you need to change. And that is the breakthrough for me when I change not only the outside, but from the inside out. And for now, it's almost 8 years that I have never tasted all of those stuff. I drew it away once and for all, and I kind of focus on the thing that I want to make it happen in this life.
Yeah, you've really given yourself direction, and you realize that once you take away those things, you realize how much you don't need them. And exercising self-control, using your energy in other ways, like doing physical activity, spending time with family, relaxing, spending time in the church. Those ways fulfill us more than those other, substances and other liquids. Let's put it that way. Well, I'm really enjoying this conversation. It's been great to learn more about your background, and Kiribati is such a beautiful, beautiful place. Would definitely love to get there one day. Any final kind of travel advice or best places to visit in Kiribati for anyone listening?
Yeah, I mean, Kiribati is it's trying to position itself for tourism, right? And there are a lot of initiatives that try to change the narrative. We used to be not like a tourism-focused country, but right now the government is doing a lot to improve on that. And so for travelers that want to come to Kiribati, I think you need to, probably go to Tarawa. That's the main island, and see how life is playing out there. But if you want some adventure, maybe you want to go to the Alta Island. There are, close by islands to South Tarawa where you can access easily. But for others, they may want to go to Christmas Island. And Christmas is one of the, I think probably the future for Kiribati and for tourism. It's gonna get much bigger there. So if you want to try out now, maybe go to Christmas now, and then after a few years, come back to Christmas and see how things change or progress.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Well, thanks, Kanaan, for being a great representative of Kiribati and your community and your people. Really appreciate you joining and having this conversation. And who knows, maybe we might do another episode on Ireland in the future.
Yeah. And if
Thanks
you
so
happen to
much.
come to Kiribati next time, let me know. We are planning to do a podcast of our own.
Wonderful.
With Chidra Kiribati, and it would be awesome to have you on that.
Appreciate it. Thanks once again. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks.